this is it for Innistrad Midnight Hunt. It will be releasing pretty soon. We have all of the commander cards here, all of the brand new ones of course, 15 new cards per PRECON deck. So let's start it off here with Coven counters. We have Celestial Judgment, a 6 mana white sorcery. For each different power among creatures on the battlefield, choose a creature with that power, destroy each creature not chosen this way. So really benefiting the board that has a variety in creature power. Curse of Conformity, 5 mana aura curse, enchant player, non-legendary creatures enchanted player controls, have base power and toughness 3/3 and lose all creature types. So that's quite interesting. We have Moorland Rescuer, a 6 mana human knight. When it dies, return any number of other creature cards with total power X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is Moorland Rescuer's power. So that is very interesting. I definitely see this being a powerful creature in Commander. We have Sigarda's Vanguard, 5 mana angel with flash and flying. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, choose any number of creatures with different powers. Those creatures gain double strike until end of turn. We have Stalwart Pathlighter, 3 mana human soldier with vigilance, and Coven at the beginning of combat on your turn. If you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. We have Wall of Mourning, a 2 mana wall defender. When Wall of Mourning enters the battlefield, exile a card from the top of your library face down for each opponent you have. And Coven at the beginning of your end step. If you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, put a card exiled with Wall of Mourning into its owner's hand. We have Celebrate the Harvest, a 4 mana sorcery. Search your library for up to X basic land cards, where X is the number of different powers among creatures you control. Put those cards onto the battlefield tapped and then shuffle. So very good ramp card there. We have Curse of Clinging Webs, a 3 mana green curse. Whenever a non-token creature enchanted player controls dies, exile it and you create a 1/2 green spider creature token with reach. So that is devastating. There's a lot of graveyard hate in these recent sets. We have Heronblade Elite, 3 mana human warrior with vigilance. Whenever another human enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and she taps to add X mana of any one color where X is her power. We have Ruinous Intrusion, a 4 mana instant. Exile target artifact or enchantment. Put X +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, where X is the mana value of the permanent exiled that way. We have Sigardian Zealot, 5 mana human cleric. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you choose any number of creatures with different powers. Each of them gets +X/+X and gains vigilance until end of turn, where X is Sigardian Zealot's power. We have Somberwalled Beastmaster, 7 mana human ranger. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 2/2 green wolf, a 3/3 green beast, and a 4/4 green beast creature token. Creature tokens you control have death touch. That is wonderful. And then we have Kerbis Harvest Celebrant, X and 2 green for a legendary tree folk. Enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. You can remove a +1/+1 counter from it to prevent all damage that would be dealt this turn to another target creature with a +1/+1 counter on it. And then for the secondary commander for the deck, we have Kyler Sigardian Emissary, a 5 mana human cleric. Whenever another human enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Kyler, and then other humans you control get +1/+1 for each counter on Kyler. And then for the Undead Unleashed deck, we have Drown in Dreams, X in 3 mana for this instant. Choose one if you control a commander. As you cast this spell, you get to choose both. Target player draws X cards, or target player mills twice X cards. And we have Shadowkin, 4 mana shapeshifter with flash. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player mills 3 cards. You may exile a creature card from among the cards milled this way. If you do, Shadowkin becomes a copy of that card, except it has this ability. We have Prowling Geistcatcher, 4 mana human rogue. Whenever you sacrifice another creature, exile it. If that creature was a token, put a +1/+1 counter on Prowling Geistcatcher. When it leaves the battlefield, return each card exiled with it to the battlefield under your control. So that's a great way to get some value off of sacrificing a ton of creatures. We have Curse of Unbinding, 7 mana curse, enchant player. At the beginning of enchanted player's upkeep, that player reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield under your control. That player puts the rest of the revealed cards into their graveyard. That's a pretty devastating curse. Definitely needed some more curses for our Grixis-colored curse commander option, of course. We have Curse of the Restless Dead. Enchant player, whenever a land enters the battlefield under enchanted player's control, you get a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. I love that card too. It's another great curse, really adding depth to the curse strategy. And then we have Tomb Tyrant, a 4 mana zombie noble. Other zombies you control get +1/+1, and you can pay 3 mana and tap it, sacrifice a creature to, return a zombie creature card at random from your graveyard to the battlefield, activate only during your turn, and only if there are at least 3 zombie creature cards in your graveyard. We have Ravenous Rotbelly, a 5-mana zombie horror. When Ravenous Rotbelly enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice up to 3 zombies. When you sacrifice 1 or more zombies this way, each opponent sacrifices that many creatures. So basically a massive flesh bag marauder. And then we have Horde Wing Scab, 5-mana zombie horror with flying. Other zombies you control have flying. That's pretty unique. I don't think we've ever seen flying zombie tribal. Whenever 1 or more zombies you control deal combat damage to 1 or more of your opponents, you may draw cards equal to the number of opponents dealt damage this way. If you do, discard that many cards. So that right there is great support, great card draw. Of course, giving zombies flying makes it even easier to overwhelm your opponents. We have Ghoul's Night Out, 5-mana sorcery. For each player, choose a creature card in that player's graveyard. Put those cards onto the battlefield under your control. They're black zombies in addition to their other colors and types, and they gain Decayed. So if they attack, you sacrifice them at the end of combat and they can't block. Empty the laboratory, X mana and 2 blue. For this sorcery, sacrifice X zombies, then reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a number of zombie creature cards equal to the number of zombies sacrificed this way. Put those cards onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this is pretty powerful. If you have a ton of zombie tokens, you're able to pretty much swap them out for some good non-token zombies, especially if the zombies you're sacrificing have Decayed. And then we have Crowded Crypt, a 3-mana artifact that taps for 1 black. Whenever a creature you control dies, put a corpse counter on Crowded Crypt. Then you can pay 6 mana and tap it to sacrifice Crowded Crypt. Create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed for each corpse counter on Crowded Crypt. That's pretty devastating. That's a great card all around for black. Not only do you get a mana rock here, which is always good for ramp, but you have a way to get a ton of tokens just doing what black typically does. We have Cleaver Scab, 4-mana zombie horror. 3 mana and tap it to sacrifice another zombie. You create 2 tokens that are copies of the sacrificed creature. That's brilliant. You sacrifice any zombie and then you get 2 token copies of that zombie. Benefit off of good ETBs that way too. Awesome. We have Gorex the Tomb Shell, 8 mana legendary zombie turtle. We get a zombie turtle. It's a zombie turtle, guys. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you may exile any number of creature cards from your graveyard. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way and has Death Touch. Whenever it attacks or dies, choose a card at random, exile with it, and put that card into its owner's hand. So that's alright. You know, nothing spectacular for Commander, but I think it's a fun card. You can make it pretty cheap if you exile a ton of creatures, make it only 2 mana for a 4/4 with Death Touch, and each time it attacks or if it dies, you get some of them back. I don't know how I feel about it. Eloise Nephalia Sleuth. This is the last card for today, the last card for spoiler season. This is the secondary commander option. 5 mana, blue-black human rogue. Whenever another creature you control dies, you investigate. That's a pretty good trigger. Whenever you sacrifice a token, you surveil 1. Definitely something that takes a bit of experimenting, but just that first trigger, that should be enough to combo for some decks. Let me know what you think about all these commander cards. Kinda sad that spoiler season is over. It's been a couple weeks now. So leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. Again, subscribe if you haven't already. Commander Void here signing off. I will see you all next time.